Meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. and welcome to the work meeting for the Virgin Planning and Zoning Commission. In attendance, we have Claudia Anderson, myself, Darlene Pope, Lee Ballard, Kent Peterson is on his way. So we're going to go ahead and get started with item number 1, which is the ordinance addressing accessory structures and establishing standards for them. And I was unable to be at our meeting last week. So I'm going to be relying on the other commissioners to fill me in on the public comment. And I don't believe there were any letters submitted. Okay. All right. Riker, you had one that you showed me. Is there any way we can get that added to our SharePoint so the commissioners can see that, or was that just for your eyes?
I haven't finished going through that
Okay.
particular one, but I'll get with Crystal and then
Okay.
we'll make sure that gets to the commission. So,
Okay, thank you. All right, so Lee and Claudia, fill me in. Am I loud enough, Lee? Yeah. Especially when I speak into the mic. Yeah. All right, I'm going to try and remember to do that. Thank you. Okay, so I'm all ears.
I think where we started is that I think some folks misunderstood why it's come up. I think it was taken kind of as a personal thing from some people, is my understanding. And then I think after the bit of discussion we had, that was cleared up. So I think that's pretty straightforward, and that was a good thing to have something re-understood.
Well,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
always good.
That's what I experienced, was that a couple people wondered if it was for the benefit of a particular neighborhood, and it's not. And we made that clear, I think.
Yeah. And if you look at the staff report that is reiterated under findings and recommendations, are there no other comments were made on that?
On accessory buildings? I don't think so, no.
Okay. All right.
I wrote a report. I don't have it with me.
You wrote a report and you don't have it with you.
Mhm.
Okay. So before we go through these findings and recommendations to see if they spark any questions, does anybody have any questions or concerns of their own about this ordinance? And we have our planner Riker here to help clarify that for us.
I do. In talking to a few people, and I read it, doesn't mean I didn't miss it, but people were asking about carports and where that would fall under and if it falls under and those kinds of things. So I kind of poked around in here and I didn't really see that, but maybe I missed it.
so we do have a separate section of the code that governs carports currently. That was one of the items addressed in that submission that has yet to be presented to you. This ordinance does not currently address that, and so that's something we'd want to work into the ordinance and make sure that the two codes are not conflicting.
Is there a difference if the carport is attached to the main dwelling or if it's separate?
Correct. Anything attached to the main dwelling is not considered an accessory structure. It's considered part of the main dwelling.
But if it was separate?
If it was separate, it'd be considered an accessory structure.
So where would that need to be clarified?
So I'd need to go through the carport code and determine where the potential conflicts are right now, and then make sure that the two work together, or if we need to adjust the carport code. Because I was unaware of that section of code until it was brought to my attention. And so that's a potential conflict with this ordinance. And so we just want to make sure that the two match.
Awesome.
Okay, so
Good.
there is an existing one is what I heard you just say.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
And then do we also need to check to see if our definitions don't conflict with either
Yeah, so we'll verify the definitions. That was one of the things that was done when this was drafted, but we'll double check that. Um, and then an additional item that you and I talked about, Commission Chair, is the need to specify the difference between the 10% and the 75% requirements for residential zones.
And that, and also that 10% does not include
The
the
main
dwelling.
dwelling. Yeah,
Okay.
so I have a note of that
Yeah.
to further specify that and make sure that
Yeah.
those are,
I kind of thought
Sure.
that might be a point of
Yeah.
area that could cause confusion and misunderstanding.
I guess I don't really understand what you were talking about as far as the 75 and 10%. Why would that be confusing?
so currently the way that it's written under the residential section, there is a requirement that the combined building footprint of all accessory structures on a lot shall not exceed 10% of the total area nor 75% of the floor area of the main building. Those are two separate measurements
Right.
that we are having the accessory structure comply with. So is it that
Either
the
or.
combined footprint cannot be larger than 75% of the main building, or that the combined footprint cannot be larger than 10% of the lot?
I think whichever is smaller.
So my suggestion in our conversation was that 10% of the lot be for the combined footprint of accessory structures, and the 75% limit be on each individual accessory structure.
Ooh, wow. That's a
Well,
whole
we
different
figured
thing.
it out. We did the math and I rounded up. And if 10% of an acre is 4,400
Yeah, roughly.
and 75% of our current largest structure is 36. I understood that we were agreeing on a little something different.
Okay.
The total structures cannot be more than the 4,400 total accessory structure.
Yes, then the 10%, yeah. And then
Individual building accessory structure cannot exceed 75% of the
Correct.
main dwelling.
mhm.
Well,
that was
that was my
as
understanding.
well.
Okay.
Does
you
that
have
make
a-
sense?
A bunch of big buildings, but I guess if that's all right. if people-
Well,
that's okay.
75% of
Right.
our largest home right now would be 3,600. That
And
means
that's only if they have a main building that is that size
that
on the
large.
lot.
Only if they
And-
have the largest main building is that large.
And if they can build the accessory structure within the setbacks.
But if they had 3 acres, they could have a whole bunch of big,
They would still be
36.
limited. The individual size of those accessory structures would still be limited by the main
By the
building
main
size.
building.
And then as Darlene's pointing out, the number of accessory structures they could have would quickly be eaten up if they chose to do the max 75%. If that square footage were to be the 3,600, they would not be able to do two well, I mean, they could potentially, but
Just depends on how big
Yes.
their lot is.
yeah, so it depends on how large the lot is.
Might
but-
normally not be. a
But the
big deal.
larger the lot, the less impact that they're going to have on the surrounding lots. And so that's the reason for the percentage, is so that the more land that somebody has, the less of an impact they're going to have on their neighbors. And so therefore, the more accessory structures they could have.
Okay.
Yeah, I need
Do
to think
you
about
have
that
a
little
different
bit.
idea on that?
No, I just thought it was going to be whichever's less, but I mean, I, if people aren't worried about it, then I'm not.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just thinking about our particular lot. It's 3 acres, but it goes down the river and up the other side for an acre of it. So, and the other acre isn't buildable. But that still means that we have 3 acres, so we could put a couple of really big buildings on our lot, which really would infringe on our neighbors.
Hmm.
So that's where my brain went, just because that's what our lot is like. So, that's why I think I'd have to think about that. And also I think about, one of the notes in here was that it needed to be set back behind the main house, but some of the houses that are on the river are far enough back that I'm thinking about one of our neighbors, the only place they had to build their garage was in front of their house. It's not. And if there's a lot like that, I know we had some flexibility and there were comments in there about flexibility. So I just want to make sure that that's available for people who,
Well, garage is considered part of the main dwelling.
well, it's not attached to their house.
Oh.
So it's a freestanding building, but they had a tiny garage and they had an RV and a truck and stuff that they wanted to put under cover, which is understandable. So I know there's flexibility. I just want to make sure there's enough flexibility for
That
something.
brings up a good point. That's not accounted for in the current draft of the ordinance. And so
Yeah.
that would be something that I think we'd want to look at is some sort of exception criteria that may allow for an accessory structure to be built in front of the home.
Mhm.
We just need to look at how we regulate that. And
We did have that built into the ordinance before. And I did send you, I believe,
Mhm.
the language that dealt with it. But I could do that again.
because currently it states that accessory structures shall be located entirely within the rear yard or side yard behind the front facade of the main building.
Right.
No
but-
accessory structure shall be located in the required front yard setback.
Right, but we did used to have a procedure for
Oh, in a
allowing
in a
exceptions
previous
to that
code.
in certain circumstances.
Okay.
So I can find that for you again and send it to you.
Yeah.
It was a
That'd be-
pretty good section of the ordinance.
'Kay.
So
Thank you, Claudia. Kent, do you have any things that we have not mentioned that you want to bring up on this ordinance on accessory structures?
No.
Riker, do you have anything you want to bring to our attention?
Just those items that
On
I've specified here
finding.
in my findings. Yeah.
Okay, so general requirements, the main building be a main dwelling, appears in 2 places.
So that specific finding is just that the ordinance is structured with some requirements that apply to all zones that are general requirements. And then it specifies residential, commercial, and agricultural. There are some items in the general requirements that apply only to residential. And my suggestion is just that those be moved to the residential section
Of
And
this ordinance.
this ordinance
Okay.
and not be in the general section.
Does anyone have an objection to that?
no,
Not at all.
Okay. And then coverage standards, I think that's what we were talking about.
Correct.
So
yeah.
my understanding is Lee's going to forward that information to you and you're going to take a look at it. The language for, and, oh, never mind.
that was.
That's for the
exceptions.
That's never
exception
mind.
for location.
Exception For
The
location.
exceptions.
Um, But Claudia brought up a good point about she's got several acres, but only one of them is buildable.
I think it ends up being 2-ish or 1.5-ish, but technically it's a 3 acres. So if I wanted to do letter of the law, right? But it would also mean I'd have to dig out the whole hill behind me, but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be practical, but it certainly would if I wanted to push it, encroach on all my neighbors. So I feel like if we can figure out a way to do some exceptions around that, and I don't know what to even recommend, obviously, but
Yeah, we can definitely look at how
Okay.
that may apply. I'll provide some findings to the commission on those,
Okay.
That'd be great.
on that specific issue.
To
So
be clear, I'm not building anything, but it's just a
Yeah.
perfect example because I know I can't be the only one. So,
No, right. Lots of people, especially along the river, want to face the river and they may be a ways off the road and
Yeah.
it would be difficult
Mm-hmm.
in the backyard.
These figures should be tied to percentage of the main building's floor area. Okay, so commercial and highway resort zone design. The thinking behind that 3,600 limit is it would be consistent with the largest structure in rural residential and residential, because take the hotel, we don't want 75% of their main building. Or if we get a grocery store, we don't want 75% of that main building. So that's the reasoning behind that. Do you see a problem with that?
my only reason for bringing that up is in the event that the town wants to encourage or perhaps allow for businesses or lots that have multiple commercial businesses on the same parcel. For example, if you had a business that had two separate structures that were offering different types of retail, one of those would have to be considered a main structure and the other one would have to be considered an accessory structure. This may be more applicable for large commercial properties, but in the event that something like that happened where anyway, just to be consistent across the rest of the ordinance to allow for it to be governed by that percentage or subordination principle. Just a suggestion, not a requirement.
Could it be an addition where there are multiple businesses on a single lot? Then the accessory structure can be no more than blank percent of each individual business or something like that.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding. You're talking about if there's multiple businesses doing the percentage of each individual business for an accessory structure associated with that. We could do that. My suggestion is that the secondary commercial business would be designated as an accessory structure itself
okay.
to the primary commercial business on the lot, as opposed to having two primaries. Does that make sense?
So you
Yeah, but
couldn't have,
if I build a building that's 5,000 square feet and I put 4 businesses in there, kind of mall-ish, that would be one business? Since it's all one building?
That would be one structure.
The one structure.
primary.
So if I were to build another structure, so 3 other people want to come in and put their businesses in there, that's what we're talking as a separate structure, right?
And the main concern here is just that if we have parcels that are larger,
Yeah.
that are commercial parcels, what type of uses are we trying to encourage to come in there? Are we trying to encourage uses that share lots and share parking and share some of these other impacts on the town, or are we wanting to encourage smaller commercial lots that are individualized in that manner? And so that just something for the commission to consider there. If you'd like to stick with the 3,600 square foot requirement for
Lee,
the cumulative accessory structures, then that's fine too.
I think you know this number off the top of your head, but currently in commercial, there is a cap on size, isn't it? 3,000?
yeah, I think that's what it
The,
is.
the baseline is 3,000.
Even if they have a huge lot?
So the way this is written,
Yeah.
theoretically, the accessory building could be larger than the main building.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm okay with that, but if I if I buy a 5-acre lot that's commercial and the biggest one I can put up is a 3,000 square foot footprint at this point in time.
I
And
think,
so then I could put up a second building for 3,600 square feet, so I could bring all my friends in to do all their businesses.
no. I think, no, you could only bring in a 2,075 of 3,000 is 2,250.
Why?
Why? Because if we're going to do this 3,600, then
This
there,
is 3,600, doesn't say percentage.
yeah.
So with your big brain, can you brainstorm a few ideas and bring them back to us?
We'll do that.
Let me just ask, what if we said 75% of the main structure, up to a maximum of 3,600 square feet?
Yeah, we could do something like that.
Okay.
I'll put together a few different
Yeah.
things and then bring them before the commission for discussion. So
Thank you.
Great.
And you'll bring that for our next work meeting?
yes, that'll be the
So
plan.
mine, and so is the next step then to send this to,
Not on this particular ordinance. We'll want to work through some of the items on here and before we send this for legal review.
and I think we're good with the typo errors that you can fix.
I'm not.
Um, And I think we're okay with the cross references that need to be updated to what they currently are in code.
Yeah.
And that's his
mean-
last recommendation. So
But if that's a recommendation to us, does that mean we have to do it?
no, that means Riker doesn't,
Okay.
right? Do I have that right now, Mark?
Correct. I will make the changes.
Okay. So I just have as a note here that you will bring us several options, probably to our next July work meeting.
Yeah, so I'll provide a revised version of that standard and then some findings behind it and then some potential alternatives. So
Great.
And I apologize for coming in late on this. Thank you. I apologize for coming in late. What is the goal? What are we trying to do with commercial sizes and
Oh,
I'm sure there have been discussion about what we're trying to create. And I just wanted to get a clear understanding of where you're headed.
I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I think the goal is to not have accessory structures that overwhelm a home or a business. And in a home, that is the character of the neighborhoods, whether it's residential, rural residential, no matter which part of town you're in.
If you bring that a little closer.
Yes. And then in commercial, to have a small business and a huge accessory structure.
So the goal is we used to have one.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a whole thing on accessory dwellings. It was removed. And so what we're trying to do is just bring back something so that it protects neighborhoods, protects commercials, so that everyone has a clear understanding of what's,
So that's great. So on the residential side, we're trying to have some standards
Mm-hmm.
to protect from cluttering up a lot in a neighborhood with too many accessory structures around a home.
At least to not have a bunch of them in the front yard and
Is there a limit to the number of structures that can be had?
Not in this current ordinance.
but there's a maximum coverage,
a
And
maximum.
what's the
footprint.
maximum?
10% of the lot,
A building,
not including the home.
an accessory can take up no more than 10%.
All accessory
Uh,
structures too.
All the accessories.
All of
Thank you.
them.
That straightens that out for me really well.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, pools are not considered as part of that, correct?
correct.
I'm
Okay.
sure you've gone through this, to create something to direct where we want to go in the future. So on the commercial side of this effort, what are we trying to go there? Are
Well,
we trying to create effective parking, or is that already done? Are we trying to create a limit to cluttering up a lot?
well, in Riker's, his first paragraph under findings and recommendation, he states this ordinance fills a genuine regulatory gap and establishes standards that are proportionate to Virgin Town zoning districts and consistent with the town's rural character, whether it's residential or commercial.
So do we have a definition of rural character?
Well, that's,
You know it when you see it.
Is that Springdale or?
No, it's not
is-
Still, I
Springdale.
don't think it's considered rural anymore. I think.
Well, but it's,
What would you propose? What in your mind, as you're thinking through this and asking these questions, what are you kind of thinking about? What's kind of spurring that on?
I think my concern is not so much when it comes to commercial. I'm right on with you on residential. On commercial, I am properties that we have zoned commercial and so forth. Do we have the flexibility to help a business or development of multiple structures? It might be that there's multiple restaurants or multiple commercial vendors, buildings, something that allows us is we may come to a point where we want to have a commercial frontage on one block of the town as it boards with SR9, for example.
Mhm.
And maybe like what was being talked about some time ago for the Hall property. And we tried to make some adjustments to what they could and couldn't do.
That's what we've been discussing, and Riker's charge is to come up with some different versions, different than what we currently
Okay.
proposed in here, and bring them to us at our next meeting.
Great. I appreciate you bringing me up to par on this because I don't want to be too restrictive to commercial development. I want that to have definition and what we feel is appropriate for the community at this time and in the future. But I also want to have a word you used a while ago, which was flexibility. Even in residential at certain times based upon certain shapes of lots and locations of lots.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our second item is we were unable to get to at last month's work meeting. And it is the one establishing a review process for new or unlisted business uses as required by Utah code. Kent?
Yeah.
Do you, you have a hard copy of this one, right?
I do.
Okay. All right. So that one's done. I personally I had a few questions that I spoke to Riker about after our June, no, May, in May, after our May meeting. And they were basic. One was make sure to add in the whereases, the planning commission whereases. And another one was, what is the difference between what kind of things, where's the delineation between what would be approved by our town manager and what would come before us? Okay. And,
Similarity or not.
yeah, and
That's,
yeah, so, and like, how clear is that? Like, where's the line kind of thing? You know, what triggers it? And Jens, what are the other ones that are pretty general? Um, And on this one doesn't have numbers, but the answer to my last question, we looked at 166206, the classification request procedure. And under C, capital letter C, review by the Administrative Land Use Authority. That's where my question was answered.
1662, what?
See? So go to
166206
that's
C.
page 15
Oh,
on this.
I have the version from last month because that's where all my comments are.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
just wondered if other people had
No, I'm using the
same
one.
or similar. Um,
so that. And
What were your questions on those that,
Well, that answered my previous question about what's the delineation process? And it's there.
oh, see, okay.
And if I miss something, Riker, just jump in.
Yeah, one change that I would suggest is just this draft refers to community development director.
Yes,
Like some of the
yeah,
other ones.
that's something
And
we
just,
have to
but it
change.
needs to be changed to town manager or
Yeah,
designee.
the-
Yeah, and if I may add to that, thank you, Riker. That was something that the town attorney had suggested
Yes.
because the town hasn't formally created the community development director position. So for the time being, it should be town manager. And I happen to wear both of those hats under my contract. So we just need to make sure it's clear in the ordinance. So for the time being, it'll be town manager. Then we'll amend to community development director if in the future those two positions are two different people. I think what the town attorney is trying to avoid is if we have a land use decision or something that somebody might challenge it on the technicality that, hey, you haven't formally created the community development director position in ordinance form.
do we not, was there not at one point an ordinance in the works to do that?
There was, my recollection is that there was before I came to town. It was last summer. In fact, I recall zooming in on a meeting at the time, and there was some discussion about it, but it wasn't formally adopted. I think they wanted to wait until I got here. And so I've asked our town clerk, Crystal, to dig out that previous item in the language. And so we'll make that a priority to move that forward.
So maybe by the time all these things get through, we're going to have to change it back.
Maybe. Yeah.
That should, once it's codified, that should be a relatively
Yeah.
easy thing to do.
We'll make it a consent agenda item
Yeah.
for
Okay, great.
for the
But-
commission and the council.
But the short answer is yes.
Yes, that's the short answer.
And then if it is a new or unlisted use they're proposing, it would have to come before us.
Okay.
And then it describes all the steps to do that. And I had a question about when we hold a public hearing, what notification level this is, especially for abutting properties, if it's a new or unlisted use. I just wanted to know what are the rights of the impacted property owners.
So when it comes before you as a new or unlisted use, you are considering a code amendment, an ordinance amendment. And so it's not just allowing the use for that property, it is allowing the use for that zone.
Change the
And
ordinance.
so it is a text amendment to the code. It's an ordinance change,
Okay.
if it gets to that point.
If someone comes up with a proposed new use and we decide it is not something that fits our general plan and all of these criteria listed here, do we have to create, forgot the technical term, Lee's going to remind me because we did it for the last CUP where you have to say the rationale behind it. Will that be required here or not?
I mean, that's always prudent on the town side to have rationale behind denying something or approving that. But the way the ordinance is written does not require.
And the state doesn't require that?
Correct. And so the effect, what's happening is when it becomes a newer unlisted use, that's being considered, is it is considered in the same way that this ordinance that's before you tonight is considered. And so the town has the same discretion
Okay,
in that situation as it does with this ordinance that we're discussing.
okay. And under right to appeal, 166212 appeals, that only, I had a clarifying question, and the answer is that's only to the applicant, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Um, Oh. And how does this interface with conditional uses? Would it also be considered an
So if in the event that a business or that a business use were to be proposed, that an applicant is proposing to be similar to an existing conditional use, if that determination is made, if staff makes the determination that that use is indeed similar, then they operate under that use. So if that use is conditional, they would be required to obtain a conditional
that's
use.
only if it's a similar use?
Correct. And then if the town is considering a newer unlisted business use, then at the time of consideration, you're considering whether or not that use would be permitted or conditional.
Okay, okay, all right. So that interface is clear. So we could make it, that could be approval with conditions, 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 conditions.
Yeah, if they want to, if the town determined to approve that use or to amend the code to make that use, then the town could say that they want that to be a conditional use.
One public hearing, if it comes to us.
Correct. So again, it'd be handled the same way with any other type.
And then, so under findings and recommendation, we need to change. The only one I can track is change to town manager, right? Were there
Correct,
any
yeah.
other?
And then I would just, for the commission's information, this ordinance has been reviewed by the town attorney already, so.
So my, does any other commissioner have any comments or concerns about this?
I think it's great. I don't have any problems.
Kent?
No.
So my suggestion is, since it's already been by our lawyer, and the only change, and we can even do this as part of our hearing, if you can't get it done before, is to bring this to public hearing in July.
We haven't had a hearing on this before.
We have, well, and that's a minor change, so we will vote on this in
Correct.
July,
I don't
correct?
think a hearing's necessary for the,
Yeah, so
the
no
change that
hearing,
we're
just a
making.
vote.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
So an additional hearing isn't necessary for the change from community development director to town manager. And the commission has previously held a hearing on this item. so.
Okay, then, yeah, let's just go for it.
I think
Okay.
we should-
I wish we could vote right now.
All right, and then number 3 is the ordinance to establish procedures for preliminary and final site plan review. This one kind of weaves into the one we did pass last week, and that was the JUC.
Mhm.
And these two things kind of take the place of the DRC, if my understanding is correct. I really didn't have, I only had I had a question about our signage and lighting covered, and I think we clarified that that would be part of the checklist prior to this, so it didn't need to be in this.
Correct. Yeah. So when site plan review happens, for those items that fall under this, we would be reviewing it against the lighting ordinance and the sign ordinance.
Great.
And then once again, add the planning commission warehouses, which we should do to the
Yeah.
other
So
ordinance.
I actually I started making revisions with those comments in mind, and
Yeah.
so I actually have a revised version that
Then
includes that.
we had talked about on line 69D, any industrial use. I just had a concern about why including non-permitted uses, and under multiple family residential use, we decided to leave that because that is a goal of the town, maybe not today, not tomorrow, but several years down the road perhaps. But industrial use really isn't. And so I think we had decided to strike that.
Mhm. Yes.
Does anybody have any objection to that?
Nope.
Oh. And then where does cross-check with code? Okay, I got the cross-check with code. I got the same answers sign. I had blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I was reassured that town code would be part of the checklist process, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I wondered about on line 115, if I have the same, it's probably not the same document, right?
Very similar, be close.
It's under final site plan.
Yep.
It says that it ensures compliance with all town engineering, utility, fire, and construction standards and with conditions imposed during the preliminary approval. And I just wonder why it wouldn't also say town zoning standards. Because, yeah, they're different.
Would that be okay to add?
Yeah, we can add zoning standards in there. That's the intent,
Or code?
is that
town code?
they are complying with that as well. And so we could definitely add zoning standards in
Okay.
there as well.
That
I
wouldn't,
mean, I could tell that that's what was
Yeah.
intended, but
but it's best to be super clear, I think. And that would not trigger, since they are part of the same realm. I don't think that would, adding that language would trigger another public hearing.
I think you'd be fine.
Okay. So can we do that, please? All right. Did any other commissioner have any other comments on this?
the same commissioner has another comment.
That's fine.
It may not matter at all, but on line 227, it mentions the application. It says, upon completion of the review process, the community development director, or town designee shall approve with conditions, or deny the application based on the standards set forth and blah, blah, blah. Now, I think I understand that application to be an application for site plan review, or is that correct? Or is it the
Correct.
entire application for the use that they're?
No, so whether or not the use is allowed is determined at the zoning level or the conditional use level, which is separate from the site plan process. And so
Okay.
the site plan process comes after all of that.
Like they wouldn't
Okay.
have a site plan if it wasn't an allowed use.
Correct.
Correct.
They'd have to go through that other.
Correct.
They
Yes.
go through the
Yep. They
preliminary
could
first.
go through the new and unlisted
No,
business
they'd
use
have to go
process
through
at that time.
new and unlisted use.
Sorry, there's no need to clarify that.
Right.
Okay, that's my only comment. My only other.
Do the other two commissioners have any additional comments on that one?
I don't.
No.
And so I think we will move forward with a vote on this in July as well. And so on those first three items, on item number one, it's not yet ready to move forward. There's some changes Riker is working on to address the concern that you expressed, Kent, and that Claudia expressed and we were talking about.
Mhm.
And we also need to, once that is done, run it by Heath Snow But the other two are ready to move forward. They've already had public hearings. The minor changes are truly the definition of minor, and therefore we can go ahead and vote on both of those in July. Is everyone good with that?
Yep.
Yes, I have another thing I'd like to mention that might affect the agenda for the regular meeting in July.
Yes.
Just at the last meeting, the commission voted to table indefinitely the GNO, the Good Neighbor Overlay. However, there are new ordinances being drafted right now that are being worked on that may conflict with it or make further work on it unnecessary. So I just want to suggest that we take a vote in the next meeting to recommend denial of the GNO and set our sights on the upcoming ordinances that are going to pretty much take its place. So I don't know what everybody thinks.
I'm good with that, yeah.
Good.
Good. That's it.
GNO recommendation. Okay, and item number 4, updates on other pending ordinances. I think Riker does have one he would like to mention to us.
Great.
Yeah, so based on direction from the commission, I've been working on revisions to the prohibited uses ordinance. As part of that, some of the uses listed in that ordinance have been consolidated into one use. And then the definitions reflect that. Some of those include the extraction, mining, or quarry operations. Those were previously separate uses. Those have been combined, and a definition has been provided that adequately shows that those are all considered the same. As well as junkyard or wrecking yards has been consolidated as well. Some of the items, there's a few prohibitions in here that I have some concerns about and would like the town attorney to offer his opinion on. Those are the prohibition of feedlots and the prohibition of multiple family dwellings. So my suggestion would be if the commission feels comfortable with the ordinance as it is now, would be to have the town attorney review it. If not, then I would just suggest that we continue making changes to the ordinance until we're ready for attorney review, knowing that there are some uses that need to be cleared by him.
And Crystal gave us each a copy of that. And the changes are basically what we talked about in length at our last work meeting. And we shortened the list. Remember, we just talked about the prohibited uses, and then we saw the value of the new and unlisted uses process, because that would allow us to look at each of those other uses. And it addresses some of the comments made by the public during the public hearing on that item as well. So I wanted to make sure we were responsive to that. So that one is kind of, we can say, take it to the attorney right now, or if you all want a chance to read through it and then send me your comments, or send Riker your comments, or call Riker on Tuesday or Wednesday, or let him know or let me know if you think it's okay to move forward. So we can do that now, or we can wait.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be that if the commission's not ready for the attorney to review this at this time, would be that it just be brought before the commission at the July work meeting.
Yeah, and that would give everybody time to read it.
Yeah.
Because I was just able to get it into the folder, but.
Oh, okay. I've read through. I like it.
And it's,
Great. I have a question for Riker, but
okay, go ahead.
you said that you were concerned about feedlots and multifamily dwellings, and I wondered if you're not concerned about jails and prisons?
No, not currently. I mean,
That's
if the
okay.
town attorney has comments on that, then we can address it at that time. But my immediate concerns were associated with feedlots and multiple family dwellings.
And were we going
Okay.
to do, no, we had talked about slaughterhouses.
We talked about adding that as a use.
Uh-huh. prohibited use.
as a
Mhm.
prohibited.
Correct. Yeah, adding that as a prohibited
Oh,
use.
because, yeah.
Um,
But it would have to be defined again. so-
Correct. We would want to add a definition to that and how that applies. And so, I mean, that's something that we could do. If the commission would like, so.
And then I'm good with waiting. I know Riker has a ton of stuff to do. What are your thoughts?
I'm fine with rereading it and thinking through it. I'm also fine with, because I feel like if we're gonna keep going back and forth, it'd
Well,
be interesting to know what
with all the
legal thinks
lawyers,
of the way it sits right now.
Yeah,
So just as a point of process, how staff would suggest the commission handle these ordinances is that the commission get the ordinances to the point where they are comfortable with them.
Okay,
And then send them for legal review so that we're not having multiple reviews by the attorney
I
of
think
Okay.
one
we-
ordinance
okay, thanks.
or
I-
making changes post legal
yeah,
review.
I'm comfortable
I'm comfortable.
with it enough to do that if you want to add that one addition.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm comfortable with it the way it is.
Ken, what
Ken?
about you?
No, I agree.
All right, so let's send it to Heath.
Yes.
Are there any other items you wanted to mention to us?
Just the only other pending ordinance is the shuttle stop removal ordinance, and that was
Yes.
that's already been discussed. And so I anticipate seeing that for a vote on the next
Yeah.
regular.
And
meeting.
so,
We were going to vote on it last time. so
but
Yeah.
I know the wrong document.
all
That's okay.
Ready to do
Things
that.
happen. So for public hearing, the only item, and I just want to run this by so we're on the same page, is the shuttle stop with the correct document, correct?
Currently, yes, I have two ordinances that may be ready by the notice deadline, and so I'll work with you, Darlene,
Okay.
on those if they're ready by that time period. Those would be the conditional use permit ordinance and then the zone change and text
So
amendment
maybe,
process ordinance.
maybe
Um,
July?
Can I say, didn't we already we had a public hearing on the shuttle stop thing?
Yeah.
So you don't need to add.
No, so
No, it
in the
was the wrong
previous meeting,
document.
it was posted for public hearing, but the wrong version of the ordinance
So
was what
even
was
the hearing
posted.
needs to be redone. Okay.
Yes, and so that was why I suggested that the commission not vote on it. And so
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So I wrote maybe July by those two other items.
Mhm.
Okay. And then for voting, that would be the shuttle stop, the new and unlisted uses, and the preliminary and final plat. And then I put as my task to update from our comments on the meeting we had on the general plan a couple months ago. And stuff Kevin Smedley sent me, which is in the general plan folder on our SharePoint, to update the general plan, hopefully to the point where we can have a final public hearing in August
Fabulous.
and send it to council. But we'll have to get it super early in. All right. I have no other items. Does anyone else have anything? And then just Riker and Mark, we had sent a while ago, and I think the commissioner would like clarification on it, that at the suggestion of Heath, that we add the language, any use not listed as permitted is prohibited, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it fell off the town council plate or they made a decision and we never heard about it or what.
I thought it had passed.
So it was
it
not
not?
voted on.
It was
by-
not voted on.
by
Okay, that was
council.
before my time as
Well-
well, but or just,
So if you could
Mark and I will
follow up on that. Okay.
yeah,
We'll see what needs to happen there.
we'll see where it is in the
Because
process.
we sent it to them. I'll have to look it up again. I think it was October last year. or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep. We'll see where it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Move it
That's all I
forward.
had.
I mean, if that has not been voted on, maybe it needs to be added to the prohibited uses one that we're, considering now?
It could be, my preference would be to add that in each zone,
Right.
that designation. So we could expand the ordinance
Just
to do
expand
that.
the ordinance to also add
Um,
that to each zone.
Would the commission prefer to wait on sending the prohibited uses ordinance to the town attorney until we have an answer on that so that we can expand the ordinance if necessary?
What if we expand the ordinance anyway? I mean, would it hurt to repeat ourselves if it had been passed?
Well, but how long would it take to find an answer to that question?
Mark and I would have to talk about it and look at the meeting minutes and see where it ended up and then determine, because at this point it's been recommended to council. And so it wouldn't be prudent to include it in an additional ordinance that
Yeah.
the commission wants to recommend to council
Oh,
if,
okay.
if the council
Let's
intends
keep
to
them, yeah.
take that
and-
back up.
And
So,
if we have a full-on ordinance already on that, let's keep them separate.
Yeah.
That way, what we hear from the town council, whatever
Doesn't affect
determination
this
they
one.
made won't affect this one.
And if they haven't voted on, it, they could simply put it on their next agenda, and
correct.
do
yeah.
that.
I think that would be more expeditious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Are there any further comments? If not, we did good this week. All right. I'm going to close this meeting, adjourn this meeting. Thank you, commissioners. We don't have to have a motion to adjourn a work meeting, I was told. Am I correct, Mark? All right. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.